The application that we are going to use for the CI/CD pipeline is the same old to-do application that we have developed before. Why I opened up the Spring Tool suite is because we are not provisioning any specific MySQL database. So, because of that, I'm going to use the H2 database because then I don't need to ask Beanstalk to create a MySQL database. So I'm making it very simple. So because of this, I have commented out the MySQL database or the driver credentials here, and I have included the H2 in memory database. Second change I made, I specified in the configuration that instead of using a port 8080, I'm going to use port 80 because that's what we will usually do in production environments. So that's what I have made a little bit of changes here, nothing else. Okay, that is one thing. And the second thing that we haven't gone through is that, of course, we had gone through the JWT security and how we are going to get the JWT, but I haven't talked about how to test a endpoint that has some security associated with it. So if you want to test the existing code with the security, if you want to do that, then you need to do a little bit of changes in the sense, if you remember, the user needs to have either the user or the admin role to get the job done. So before a small tweak that you need to make to the test package is that you need to use another annotation called with mock user and then specify the username and the available roles. If you remember, for a posting we need a user with the admin roles. So that's what I have given the username as admin and something like that. That's the only thing that you need to make the changes. Again, I have made a little bit of changes here in the um, testing of getting a single to do. Previously, we used a template called the test rest template. So I have made a little bit of change here. Instead of using the test rest template to get the objects, I'm using the MVC, the mock MVC that we got, and are using the same get request that we use to get the list of to dos from that particular response. And this is the code I have given. So just replace the test rest template with the MVC itself as seen in the code here. These are the two changes I have made. Step one, I made sure that I am not using MySQL and I'm using an H2 in memory database. And in for the test cases, I don't think I need the test cases here. Yeah, I'm using the mock with the mock user both in these tests. So just make sure that you give with the mock MVC, and please make sure that you replace the rest template with the this particular code. You can pause the video and get the job done. That is step one. Step two, let us go to um, the code commit. So here you can go to code commit, click on the code commit. And of course, in this UI, you can see the code commit, the code artifact, code build, code deploy, and the code pipeline specified here. So we will be using the code commit, the code build, and the code pipeline. In between, we will be using the Elastic Beanstalk to get the job done. But before, we haven't talked about IAM, identity and access management. So this, I think, you will be able to do only if you have a personal uh, user with Amazon. So one thing that I have seen here is that you cannot just commit your code. You need to have the appropriate credentials for the user to commit the code. So this is the user that I am using. I am not using the root user. The Krishna hyphen Ramachandran is the root user, and logging into the root user, I have created another user, and I am using that particular user giving a lot of permissions. One of the permissions you need to do is to here is what is known as the AWS code commit power user. So see the code commit, you need the code commit power user to actually use that particular code commit service. So please keep that in mind. And not only that, I have given the code pipeline full access, the code build full access as policies too. So make sure you come to these policies. You can directly, so these I have attached to a group because I made sure I first create a group, and I gave a group name called admins, and this particular user belongs to that particular group, and I gave permissions to that group, so that whoever is part of that particular, whichever user is part of that group, gets these permissions automatically. And these are the permissions that you can see attached from the group. And of course you can directly attach permissions to the user if you want. It's not a big deal, but I would like to have a little bit of more control. So that's okay. Maybe anyway, we are doing some R&D work here anyway. So make sure that you have the code commit power user, the code pipeline full access, and the code build admin access for whatever we are going to discuss to work. Step one. Step two, let me go back again to the code pipeline or code commit, wherever you want to go. Code pipeline or code commit, where you will see all the code commit. So the first thing that you are going to do is to get started, you can see you can create a repository. So let us start to create a repository. And because I am going, this is just the Git, I mean another implementation of the Git repository, just like GitHub, no big deal. So I will give the name of the repository as to do, maybe give a description, to do REST API repository. It is optional. If you want to give some tags, you can go ahead and just to find out. So let me give the name application, and will be to do just, and just some metadata, that's all. Category as first API. We are getting the job done. So enable Amazon Code Guru Reviewer. I'm not going to tick any of these things. You can play with. I'm going to create it. Now we have this particular repository. Then there are a little bit more. I mean, you can use SSH if you are an SSH guru, which I am not. Of course, I find it difficult to have the SSH, but of course, you can use the HTTPS. So, and of course, if you go to the details, read the document, and you will get an idea of what exactly we need to do. So what we need to do here is that we need to clone this repository that we just created. So what I'm going to do, instead of using the, I'm going to go into one of the spaces in my file system, because I am talking about the AWS, where you can see the videos that I have created. I'm going to create a folder called AWS workspace. Go into that, and then in here I am going to, you can use a cmd, a command, or a git bash if you have. So I will open up git bash here, which will open up in this window. And what I'm going to do here, go back, copy this git clone, copy, and then paste it here, so that I will clone the repository first. So of course you appear to have cloned an empty repository. These are all fine. And then I will go into the to-do repository or the to-do folder that has been created. You can see here a to-do with there is nothing into that. And from into that, I'm going to copy the code that we have created before. So again, I will go to the same code where I had created the REST API to do, and I will just copy the source because that's what I need. I don't need anything else. Copy the source and the pom.xml file and paste it inside the to do. Done. And then I'm going to add. So I will use git add. I will add the src folder and all that thing inside the src folder. And then I will add the POM file. I think these should be known to you because this is exactly the GitHub commands that we used to give. Let me expand a little bit more so you can see it clearly. And then I'm going to use the git commit, give a message, committing to do. So I gave the git commit, it got committed everything, and then I will give git push. So one thing you need to understand is that here the the credentials should be. So again, going back, I will open it up in a new window. I'm just giving you the steps that you should do to get the job done. I will again go to the IAM, that is identity and access management, and then in the users, and in the security credentials. If you go down, you can see the SSH keys for you can see the SSH key for AWS code commit. But because we are not using the AWS, I will go down and see there is a HTTPS Git credentials for AWS code commit. So what you need to do here, you need to click on generate credentials, which I have already done. Okay, so of course this generate key generate credentials button will give you a username and password which you should use. So when you give this git push, the whatever the credentials that you got will be asked in a pop-up window. I have already done that, so that's why I will be able to git push without any problem. So please keep that in mind. So I can see I have pushed everything to the GitHub. So please make sure that you come here, and if you go down, you can see that I have already the username, but without the password, you won't be able to go in. So it creates. You cannot create a name. A name will be created, and a password will be given by clicking on the generate credentials. So when you use the git push, here a window will pop up where you need to use the username and password that has been given, which I had already done it, and that's why I'm not showing it here. So once it is pushed, if you go back to the repository, the commits section, not the commits, you can maybe you can look at the repositories itself. So here you can see one commit has happened 3 minutes ago, and the my name here, and then the code will consist of my repository. So to do is the code repository. So here you can see I have committed the code successfully. You can see in the repository I have the repository the to do. This is step one. So with me, a little bit of things that you need to provide. a coverage once more. Go to the IAM management. First, make sure that you have a corresponding policy applied, and three policies you need to apply or you need to have for your user role. And one of the policies here is the code commit full access, something like that. So please make sure you have these policies for this thing to work. So this many policies. So the code commit power user for committing the code, and for creating the pipeline, the code pipeline full access, and the code build admin access. Step 1. Step 2, you need to go to the security credentials and create the access key, because we are not using SSH. So go to the HTTPS and click on generate. That will give the username, password. You can see my status is active. So use that credentials. Step 2, then go here, create a repository and give the name and whatever it is there. There you will be provided with an HTTPS. So of course the HTTPS will have this particular, I mean, what exactly? Yeah, this git clone, whatever the name will be given, you use it. And then I copy pasted into that particular to do repository or the to do directory that was created locally. I copy pasted only the src and the pom file, because this is all that is required. And then I added that particular using the add, so git add command. I added both the src and the pom file. You can see both here. And then I committed, so that it will be reflected in the commit that I'm going to do. And then last I gave the git push command. That's all. We can close, and you can see the repository is here. Next step we will do in the next video.